Iran and the United States are locked in a bitter standoff over the now scrapped nuclear deal and the growing military brinkmanship in the Strait of Hormuz. While much of the recent attention has been on Iran's future nuclear ambitions, it's the country's existing arsenal of ballistic missiles that's causing fresh alarm in Washington. Euronews' international correspondent Annalise Borges is in Iran for us this morning. We can go there live. Annalise, morning to you. The US is really trying to apply maximum pressure on Iran to try and limit its nuclear capabilities. But that's not the only thing that Washington are worried about.
Absolutely. Good morning, Rosie. The United States sees Iran as one of its biggest foes, and that since it broke relations with Tehran in 1980. Now, Iran's perceived growing influence in this region has fueled tensions between the two countries. The United States and its allies see Iran as supporting terrorism because of its alliance with certain non-state actors here in the region, be it in Lebanon, but also Syria or Yemen. Add to that the fact that Iran has developed a significant military capability in the last 30 years, and it's easy to see how some people in Washington would justify being even more scared of a potential threat coming from Iran. But at least here in this country, authorities insist they have known war. They have experienced the devastating effects of war firsthand, and what they're trying to do now is defend peace.
The U.S. has many concerns with Iran's policies. Top of the list, its nuclear intentions. But the development and use of its missile arsenal is what has brought the two nations closest to conflict. Last month, Tehran tested a new long-range road-mobile surface-to-air missile system made in Iran, the Bavar 373. The use of a similar missile system in June took the two countries to within 10 minutes of conflict when it shot down a U.S. drone, which Iranian authorities say violated Iran's airspace. Donald Trump called back a retaliatory attack, but the U.S. continues to see Iran's missiles program as a provocation. For some here in Iran, however, Washington and its allies in the region are the reason Tehran feels compelled to build missiles.
We see American spy planes and satellites are always in Iran's airspace. Which country lets its sky get unsafe? Iran must defend itself and keep its sky secured, keep its people safe.
General Alaei worked as a naval commander for Iran's Revolutionary Guard Corps, designated by the Trump administration as a terrorist organization as part of its sanctioning measures.
If the United States had continued with its nuclear deal and moved towards reducing tensions with Iran, it would have been possible that Iran also didn't need to develop defense technologies as much.
The fact that Iran's nuclear deal doesn't address the continued enhancement of the country's ballistic missile arsenal was one of the reasons U.S. President Donald Trump gave for withdrawing from what he described as the worst deal ever. Iran has been developing ballistic missiles since its war with Iraq in the 1980s, and Tehran is thought to have one of the largest inventories of the Middle East. What would a war with Iran look like?
It's going to be very ugly. Iran's military capabilities are quite extensive. Iran experienced 8 years of war with Iraq in the 1980s. At that time, Iran depended on foreign military equipment. And since there was an embargo, Iran suffered a lot. So after the war, for the last 30 years or so, Iran has concentrated on developing domestic military capabilities.
When asked if Donald Trump has a point in pursuing a maximum pressure campaign to curb Iran's military ambitions, Fouad Izadi says the only thing the strategy is succeeding in doing is antagonizing Iranians.
So all the young people in Iran that were saying we need to have an agreement with the US and we need to improve relations with the West are realizing that this is not working out, and they're not blaming Rouhani for that. They're blaming Trump, and they're also blaming Europeans because they seem to be useless in terms of standing up in front of Trump.
A military conflict with Iran would be the worst possible outcome of the collapse of the nuclear deal. Analysts agree such a confrontation would have a devastating impact on the country and the wider region. Tehran has repeatedly said it is not looking for war, but Iranian authorities seem to want to be ready in case of one.
So while the United States says it has many more reasons to worry about Iran and wants a new deal that includes its missile program, Iran says that is off the table. There will be no negotiations of a new deal. Iran says what they have right now with the JCPOA is the best deal possible. Now, where is that going to take both countries? It's very difficult to tell at this stage, but what is clear is that what happens to the JCPOA is likely to define what kind of relationship Iran will have with the United States and Europe in the coming years.
Our international correspondent Annalise Borges, live for us in Iran. Thank you.